Hello and welcome to Aligned Almost. My name is Bea.
And I'm Denise.
Today we're going to be talking about something that's a little bit on the heavier side, but it's something we've both experienced and has been a really big part of not only just our lives, but our spiritual journeys, and that is depression, and also how we have overcome depression. We just wanted to give a little trigger warning right here at the beginning that if this is a topic that you're just not in a place where you can hear about our stories and stuff, we just want you to take care of yourself and, click pause, come back, to our episode next week. We will be talking about things like depression and suicide. So if those are topics that are just not something that you can handle right now, we would really like you to listen to yourself, and we would also just like to share resources. So if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, help is available. Call or text 988 anytime in the US and Canada. And again, that number is 988. And with that, let's get into our episode.
Okay, and the reason that we really wanted to talk about this is because it's something that we feel like is not talked about enough. Mm-hmm. And it's very important that you feel safe with the people that you do bring it up with.
Absolutely.
And Bea and I both have experienced depression, of course. That's what the reason that we're creating this episode. And we both, I would say, dealt with it in different ways, right? Mm-hmm. And we continue to deal with it in different ways. But we have gotten to the better end of it and have used tools. And that's not to say that life is perfect and we don't still experience little bouts of depression. But I think that I know that we are much more equipped to handle it in an effective and productive way. And also use discernment for the people that we do reach out to, because I do know still support is everything. Yeah. It truly is. And I know I'm one of those people that likes to handle things on my own. And I never want to be the drag or the negative Nancy or the person with too many emotions. Yeah. But I mean, I have a lot of emotions, and some days I'm like, hell yeah, this is great. And other days I'm like, this fucking sucks. And there's no other way. And I just want to cry. And I've had situations where I have said this to the wrong people and they've made me feel worse about it. And now I know you don't want to share these things with everyone. You really have to be protective because it's such a sensitive thing. Mm-hmm. And what someone says in those moments of weakness can really affect you, not just in that moment, but it could potentially lead you to a decision that you'll regret forever, or just have a negative view on yourself that you'll carry with you, and it'll be something that you'll have to work through. And so
yeah, absolutely. And it is, we also want to make sure that, it is something that it is important to talk about, but we just want you to use your discernment in who you discuss this with. And a lot of the times, a medical professional is probably the best person to, and I've been in therapy a whole bunch. I've had a bunch of different therapists. I haven't liked all of them. I haven't always been pro therapy. And it's hard to find a good therapist sometimes, which makes it really even more challenging, because when you get to that point and you're like, okay, I need help, I don't want to go down this path, and then trying to get help is harder. So, and I think maybe if we just go back and share our stories a little bit about that. And so I'll just kind of go into mine. So I had been anxious my entire life and depressed most of it too, and diagnosed with major depressive disorder. And when I was 19, and then almost exactly a year later when I was 20, I attempted suicide both times. And I remember that first time I came home from the hospital, and I reached out to a friend because I was looking for support in that time. And I told her what had happened, and she texted me back and was like, that's not something funny to joke about. And then she never talked to me again. So it's I was in this very vulnerable place where I tried to open up because I knew I needed to, and I really needed support in that time, and was met with the complete opposite of what I needed. And so it was just, it's really hard. And having the right people in your life can make a big difference in that too. But it's just like in that moment, like that was not what I needed.
Right. Yeah. Again, it's important that you tell the right people for that reason. And even then, so I will backpedal and say that I have dealt with like these bouts of being really down and crying and not wanting to live. And I didn't know how to put a name to it. And I grew up with my dad saying things like depression is a rich people's problem. Like when you're not rich, you don't have time to be depressed. So I always thought to myself, all right, like stop being weak. Like, and it sounds like now I realize that it sounds so like taboo. I don't know if is that the right word?
Yeah.
It's like, but that's what I thought. So I always thought to myself, like, you can't let this, it's survival of the fittest. Like, suck it up. Mm-hmm. I would tell myself, like, you've got to suck it up. Survival of the fittest. These people are weak. Like, you're not one of those people. And I would always put myself as separate. And I think that created an unnecessary pressure. And I just was like, I can't be this person. I can't have to, like, fake it and just fake it till you make it. And I tried, and I really did. And I remember telling my ex-husband now, and he actually tried to be supportive. He really did. And in those moments, though, I feel like I didn't have the right tools. I still didn't know. Like, talking about it wasn't everything. And thankfully, he tried, and he was, he tried to be understanding. Mm-hmm. But I was still fighting with myself. So it's like, there really is no one cure to it. Or there is no cure, but, like, there are certain things that you can do to better manage it. And I had zero idea how to manage it. I would just be like, this is how I feel. I don't want to live sometimes. I hate life. And, like, you tell this person and they try to help you as best they can, but then at some point you feel like you're just sucking the life out of them too, right? And I don't want to be like an energy vampire.
Right.
And then recently I also told somebody that I was seeing that I was pretty close with, like I would consider him like, one of the closer people to me, obviously, because it was somebody that I was romantically involved in. And I had mentioned this to him, like, sometimes I just hate myself and I'd hate living. And he just said, if you share those things, people are going to want to 5150 you. Like, and I was just like, yeah, like, he just made it feel like it was too much. And I know that it was because he was dealing with a lot of emotions too that he couldn't manage. So how was he going to help me with mine? But again, that's where I should have, could have used discernment. Mm-hmm. And I was just in such a vulnerable state that I wanted the person close to me to, like, just acknowledge that I was going through one of those bouts. And instead I was kind of met with like, wow, that's a lot. And you should probably like figure that out before you get put into a crazy hospital. Like, essentially, he didn't say that verbatim, but that's how I interpreted it. And so it took a lot of, again, it's no one size fits all. Like, I found a spiritual counselor and that helped like really, like that, even then, I still dealt with bouts of depression. It was like 2 years later, here I am utilizing the resources. And B and I will talk a little bit more about this later, but it really truly is like a muscle where you like practice these skills and you have to keep practicing them and strengthening them. And it's not going to fix everything, but you just are able to bounce back a little bit more quickly.
I think sometimes too, like when you're really in the thick of the depression and just not liking yourself, not liking life in general, like you reach out to who is closest to you. And because we're in that kind of mindset, it's hard to even access discernment because discernment is something we grow and build over time too.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so it's like, I when I was a teenager, I had started with suicidal ideation. And I knew that was something that I needed help with. So I would reach out, to my mom and I would have these like really big, like I almost want to say dramatic, but not in like a putting on a show dramatic, but just like very big consuming like crying fits and like, just like saying I don't want to be here anymore. And like, I can't handle the feeling of this. It was just so thick and overwhelming. And my stepdad, somebody who adamantly did not believe in mental health, which doesn't make sense, but the people are still out there who think that way. And, he told me, again, as a teenager, when I was like, I don't want to live anymore, he like got angry with me and he's like, well, if you don't want to live anymore, there's knives in the kitchen. That was something that was said to me like almost 2 decades ago and like has stuck with me. And like, I have been able to heal and move forward, but, you know, it's kind of something that, like, I'll never forget.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, I did try, and, like, when I realized there was resentment there, which I don't feel resentful anymore. I'm just like, you can't be in my life. But I did try and have a conversation with him about it, you know, a couple years ago. And he was just resistant. It's actually, I think I mentioned this in one of our, maybe it was the Daddy Issues episode.
It was the Daddy Issues episode, yeah.
Where he was like, yeah, it sounds like something I would say, but I don't remember, so I'm not going to apologize. So I'm like, cool. And so, you know, even at that time, like, I was a teenager, like, I was reaching out to who I thought I could reach out to, and it still wasn't the right people. And I think that's why, like, seeing a professional is really important, because they have the knowledge and the skills and the education to be able to help you through that. And even if that's just using the hotline or the texting, I think the texting feature, I don't think that existed back then, but
yeah.
I think that's a really great resource now, because, like, I just want to take a moment to say that, like, if you are having these feelings, or if you have had these feelings, like, please keep fighting. Please keep, like, moving forward. Please know that there is another side. There is an out. There is, like, and not that out, but there is, like, you know, the, what am I trying to say? Like, the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can, like, there, you can get there. And it feels, when you're in it, it feels like that doesn't exist, and it feels like that's impossible. But, like, hear it from us that, like, we both, even though our journeys have been very different, like, we both have found that light. And it's not to say that, like, I never have low days anymore, but now it's like a low day, and then I'm okay the next day. Or maybe it's just half the day. Like, the bounce back time gets so much quicker. And so if we can do that, you can do that.
Right. And I also want to pivot, or just kind of draw it back to alignment, because I think a lot of the times depression does come from a lack of alignment, and we don't understand that when we're younger. So, like, for me, for instance, I think a lot of it came from feeling forced to do things I didn't necessarily want to do, because that was the right thing to do, right? Like, go to college and figure out what you want to do, and, like, go, and, like, there's so many, like, you should do this and you should do that, and you should do, and you should be happy and you should be grateful, you should. And that kind of feeds into depression, right? Because you're just you're not listening to yourself, and you don't have the tools to listen to yourself when you're younger necessarily. I mean, now I think that it's becoming, I would like to say it's becoming easier, but who knows, right? So really, it's a lack of alignment. And I'll also say that the extent of my professional help has been, like, spiritual counselors. So it doesn't have to be conventional. I'm not hating on therapists. I am not hating on different modalities, but that has never worked for me. Yeah. I tried it. I tried different ones, and I was like, nope, this isn't going to do it. And this is for me. I studied mental health and social work, like, and it just didn't cut it for me. And I met this spiritual counselor, and she did it for me. Like, she didn't, of course, it wasn't like, boom, overnight you're fixed. It was just the beginning of learning all these tools that I continue to use to this day. And I still struggled in between, because this was in 2023. And up until the end of last year, I will say, like, I've still had, like, bouts, like, heavy bouts, but now that I've started making choices and letting go of things that weren't serving me, I have less severe bouts, and, like you said, the bounce back is much quicker. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, the way that you heal doesn't have to be like the textbook, go see a therapist so you can be diagnosed with depression and whatever. If you, like, I'm not anti-medications. I've always raw dogged life. Like, that's just it. And I mean, I will say, like, sometimes I have drank more than I should, because I'm like, oh, I'm sad, I'm going to go out and drink. But for me, it's really just been listening to myself, learning to listen to myself, getting outside. We really don't put enough value on just getting outside and quieting your mind and being like, what do I want from life? And why do I not want to live? Because if you ask yourself that and take the time to ask yourself, like, what is it why is this feeling coming up? You'll know. Like, sometimes for me, it's been like, I don't want to live in this wheel where I'm doing something day in and day out that I don't necessarily love, and I'm stuck in an office and it's cold when I want to be outside, like, doing cool shit, you know? And I mean, it's obviously it could be much deeper than that. That's a very light way explanation. I'm just saying that your way of healing can be different, but you can figure it out because, I mean, we're all here for a purpose, and it's not to off ourselves early on, even though I've wanted to do it, and
I tried.
and you tried. I've fantasized about it,
Yeah.
but here I am, and I'm really glad that I didn't.
Yeah. Can you talk more about how you found your spiritual counselor? Because for me, like, I never sought out like a spiritual counselor, but I will say that I did struggle with therapy. Like, in hindsight, like, I learned a lot from it, but I think my spirituality is also what really helped me heal my depression. And so, yeah, like, how did you find your counselor?
Yeah, so I started reading a book, and I think, what was it called? Anyways, it was a book about your higher self and it was a self-help book. And I was like, wow, this sounds really good. And there was an element of spirituality in it. And it really just, like, I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if I could find somebody that believed in spirituality and was also a counselor. And at that time, my mom was practicing Reiki. And I didn't even know what Reiki was at the time. And I was like, what do you mean energy healing? Like, I don't even understand what that means. And so anyways, I was like, does anybody in your group do spiritual counseling? Because I really want to see somebody. And I didn't tell her why, but I was like, like, therapy doesn't do it for me. I need somebody that also believes in the spiritual component. And so she put me in contact with this woman, and I met up with her, and then she explained what spirit guides were. And I kind of had an idea, I think, at that point. I could be, you kind of lose track of how you remember everything, but an oracle decks and everything. And she was just such a, like, like, it was just amazing. Like, just, it felt like good to be seen and to be introduced to a world that I knew, like, it was like, this is where it's at. Like, all the feelings that I never had with those other people where you just click, where I'm like, oh my God, here I am because my friend told me that maybe I should see somebody because I have these thoughts. And I mean, they meant well, right? And they're like, yeah, because sometimes that stuff does work for people, and that's fine. And this is one of the things that I think we'll always preach is this is no one size fits all. It's find what works for you. We're not sitting here being like, you need to, like, speak to your higher self. And I mean, yes, in some way it's like, where it's not forced. It's like, if you feel called to, this is what's worked for us. And if you're listening, more than likely that you do feel called to it. Otherwise you'd be like, what the hell are these bitches talking about? Off. So yeah, there really truly is no textbook way to overcome this. And even when you do, I think we need to understand it's not like a cold where you get rid of the cold and that's it. You're better. I mean, maybe it is like a cold, because colds like to rear their ugly heads.
Yeah.
But it's like, you just get better at it. Like, when we keep saying that, because it's true. And I remember I had a day, like a couple weeks ago, where I was like, I do not feel right today. And I feel pretty terrible. And you're just like, it's okay. That's fine. Like, just take it easy on yourself. And you weren't like, suck it up, buttercup.
I had a day like that too, and you met me the same way. And so, like, that's been nice too, because we also have struggled with, like, people being like, suck it up, buttercup, and we're like, well, fuck, like, because it's like those days, it's like I'm getting this visual of just having this, like, really dark gray stormy cloud kind of like around your head, and, like, just literally everything is stupid, everything sucks, and you're like, this is so fucking dumb, like, why am I here? Like, what is the point? And the more you progress on your healing path, however that looks for you, the easier it is to, like, bring the sunshine back out and clear your head. And I was also thinking, as you were talking, do you think that a lot of the times, like, the misalignment in life that kind of creates depression is because we're living our lives based on what outside sources are telling us how to live?
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. I think even when we're younger, we just can't comprehend that.
Yeah.
So we can't be like, oh, well, my mom and dad are telling me I should do this, so I hit, it's
well,
just
and
like,
we have to listen because we're kids.
And we're like, well, they know best, right?
Yep.
And so you're thinking, oh, they know best. They know what I need. They know what's better for me. And you don't trust yourself. And very early on, we're taught not to trust ourselves. Yeah. Right? So we kind of have to learn that as we get older. Like, hey, I know I have all the answers. And truly, you know what's best for you. You are the expert in you. Nobody else is the expert in you. Like, and that's why it's so, so important to get to know yourself. Like, whatever that looks like for you. And I know that you mentioned, like, journaling sometimes helps. I cannot journal. And I'm sorry, like that is just an element of me I cannot get on board with. I've tried, my hand cramps, I get mad. I don't know. I get mad because my hand's cramping, not because of the journal. And I have done it, and it does feel good in the moment, but it's not something I can sustain. And so for me, it's like voice noting is, so you can like talk into your phone and be like, hey, I don't know, whatever journal prompt, like why this is how I'm feeling today. And then go back and listen to it if you feel called to listen to it and see how you've progressed if you're on a progression journey, right? But really, it's just really helpful sometimes to put your feelings into words.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. But you don't have to journal. And
no, you don't. There is like, if you can journal, because it's not for everybody. And honestly, it hasn't always been for me. Like, I think sometimes the hand cramping is like it's a muscle training thing.
Yeah, I know.
But then also like some people just don't like that.
Yeah.
And this is not sponsored. It could be if you want to be. But there's this really great app called Day One, and it's a journaling app. And it's on your phone. Obviously, it's an app. Why did I even say that? But like,
it's very boomer of you. I'm just kidding.
But it's basically this app where you can type out your journals, or you can do voice notes. And so
cool.
I have a pen and paper journal. I also have this app, and it'll also send you journal prompts every day in a notification if you want, which is kind of nice too. Just because it's good to like get the stuff out of your brain. And even if your journal is like, I don't know what to say today, like this is dumb, like, it still helps. And like usually even once you start doing that, things start to flow.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend that app. It also has a really, like, the premium plan is like not that expensive, so I love that. And the free version is also plenty. So also not sponsored, but Day One, if you want to sponsor us, we wouldn't be mad.
No, but it's true. I think anything that you can do to get to know yourself is it. And it's really hard to do that in today's society, I think, because you feel like you're on this wheel, right? And we've kind of jumped off of that already. We've touched on that, but you're like, all right, I need to make X amount of money so I could be comfortable, and this is what I need to do. And if I have this job and I look like I have everything together, like I have like on paper everything, but then you're left not, you're feeling depressed. And that's a lot of the times, like a lot of the people in these soul-sucking careers, that's what happens. And it's like, do you really want to waste your mental health for material things? Like, and I mean, maybe to some people that, and this is just me speaking from my personal experience, but I would much rather experience wealth in different ways, like being able to explore different places and being able to go out and truly like live a life that doesn't maybe look like what everyone else would consider rich, but to me would be rich. So find what your rich is, really. That's like, what are you chasing? Because a lot of the times you'll see you're chasing external validation. You're chasing what you think people will look at you and say, oh wow, that person's like living it up. Like, do you really
who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Like right now people are probably like, whoa, she's on some crazy shit, like whatever. Because I always have been. And none of it, even if I didn't fully like go through with it as far deep as I wanted to, I don't regret any of it because it's all part of the process. And this is the thing, you have to stop being afraid of looking like a failure. Like, who cares? Like, try stuff. Just try it. Like, yeah, it's embarrassing sometimes, but it's, again, like a muscle. You're like, you start to like not care so much what people think. So whatever it is, and I don't know what you might want to try, but I'm thinking about all the things that I've wanted to try, from like personal training to, at one point I was thinking of like coaching, like more spiritual coaching. At this point, it's like using our voices to really help people, because that's like how ultimately what helped me overcome depression was podcasts. And I don't want to like keep repeating myself, but it's truly just what's the life that you want to live? What do you consider rich? And not based on what other people are going to think of you. And that's really going to be, for some people, some hard stuff, because in this day and age, there's social media and there's like every which way, like people will tell you like, and we all want to look cool. Nobody wants to look like a loser. But the reality is sometimes you're going to have to get to where you want to be, because you're going to put yourself out there, and some people are not going to resonate with it. Yeah. Right? And it's not like loser, but you're just going to feel a little bit rejected.
Right. But I think too, the thing about failing is like, at least you're doing something. At least you're trying something. Like, you might not be perfect. You might be a beginner, but like, you are miles ahead of all the people who aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I think when people have negative responses to you trying and failing at something is because honestly, they don't have the balls to try anything themselves. And it's like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. You're sitting there on your couch, scrolling on your phone and judging me for, like, being happy and living my life and, like, trying something new. And, like, you know what? Like, cool. Like, congrats. Yeah. Like, what?
Yeah. That's truly, like, usually what their perception, we've also touched on this, and a lot of it's going to just be overlapping stuff, but their perception of you is never about you. It's always about them.
Right.
And we're saying this because it all ties into, sometimes the depression stems from you not doing something that you know would bring you happiness for fear of judgment. And it's just really learning to overcome that. And it's never not going to be scary. That's the thing.
Right.
And you're
It's
never going
scary.
to feel ready. And that's one of the cheesy things I hear, but it's true. You're never ready.
Right.
You're like,
for anything.
There's never a perfect time. You just got to go for it. And whatever that looks like. But first and foremost, take the time to see what that looks like for you. What is it that you want? What is it that's making you miserable? Is it your job? Is it a relationship? Is it both? I mean, those are the big ones, I think.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's scary because it's going to involve flipping your world upside down. And I see that time and time again with, like, a lot of relationships, because there's that fear of being alone, but you're not alone. And that's the crazy thing. We've touched on this. Like, we met each other in these times where we were like, oh, we're not alone. We have each other. Yeah. Like, we're not like romantic partners, but it's not, that's not the same. It's just, there are so many things that we just stay stuck in, and we think that that's the right thing to do. And ultimately it's just dragging our lives and our souls. And I don't know what that looks like for each and every one of us, obviously, but for me, it was relationship and career-based. And it's still career-based, but that's something I'm working through. So that yeah,
for me too. Like, it's kind of like you're, like, living in depression, and then you kind of just occasionally experience it. And I think that's also a really important mindset shift, is that you are not depression, you are experiencing depression. And when we change that thought process too, it really, really helps, because when you just sit there and you're like, I'm just a depressed person, I'm always going to be a depressed person, like, this sucks, you know? And, like, that's just not true. That's not the case. Like, you are a person experiencing depression. And, you know, touching too on, like, the loneliness thing, that's really hard. That's something I've had to heal big time. And I think we'll be talking about that in an early episode.
In the next
episode. But from, like, a spiritual perspective, you're literally never alone, because spirit is with you, your spirit team is with you, your guides are with you. And I know that's, like, kind of a more, like, woo-woo, like, take, but, like, I've found a lot of comfort in that. And, like, you know, my dad has passed, and, like, I feel his energy around me, like, all the time, like, and so even if you don't have like, physical, like, friendship or whatever, like, in person, like, you're really not alone.
Yeah. And that actually touches on one thing too, that I think prayer looks differently. Obviously, I'm not religious, but when I did get introduced to, like, what spirit guides were and everything, I started asking them, like, hey, please help me to find, like, ways that I can heal this or deal with this, and X, Y, and Z, whatever that looked like. And I started, like, whether it was like an oracle deck or a book or a podcast, whatever it was, I felt like it wasn't coincidence that I'd stumbled upon these things. And even meeting some of the other spiritual people that have helped me and still have helped, or still continue to do so. Like, that's all part of the process. So prayer, I guess, which feels weird for me to say, because I feel like I always associate it with, like, a specific religion, but it's really just, or even speaking to your guides or the higher power that you believe in is truly pivotal in, like, what you can do to help manage depression. Yeah, that's the best. I'm trying to think of the best way to say it, because again, it's not like, I don't think there's a depression cure. Right. It's managing this depression and making sure that it's minimal and that you have the tools to deal with the heavy bouts, the deep, you know, those dark moments. Yeah.
It's kind of like when we use words like God, source, universe, like, prayer is just another word for having a conversation with your spirit team.
I like that better.
So like, you know, like I've like recently gotten more into like praying. I like to pray like before we start our podcast and before I do readings and stuff. And like it's a little bit more formal than just like how we're chatting right now, I guess. But also not always, because sometimes I'm like, okay, spirit, like what's going on, girl? Like
or I'm like, I am so over this shit. Can you stop? Like there has to be another way.
Like come on, like give me some help here.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be super like serious. And that's like one thing we also like really just want to share with this podcast is like the spirituality piece has like helped us so much in our healing journeys, but it doesn't have to be so like structured and specific. Like you can really make it your own. You can make it comfortable. You can make it like casual, like you're having a conversation with a girlfriend. Like it's, you know, spirit is not gonna judge you. That's like
no,
they can't. Like
like even if you were to say like, what the fuck, spirit? Like it's
have
like who like they're not gonna be like, oh, you dropped an F-bomb, I'm not listening to you. Like come on, like
that is
it's ridiculous. I'm sorry, it really is. So
no, I literally have been like, what the fuck is going on? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like
right. And that has truly been, you're right, you never are alone because you always feel like you're being guided and you don't not crappy part, because it's actually a beautiful part if you let it be, is that you don't get to know how it plays out, but step by step, just know, like, if you continue to listen to yourself, things are going to get better. And it may not play out the way, most of the time doesn't play out the way that you envision, but it still unfolds in a beautiful way. And you learn that life is actually worth living. And even in the moments where you feel like it's not, you're like, I don't know, for me, the bounce back is the next day. And I'm like, oh, this is actually great. I like being here.
Yeah. My bounce back is getting like quicker and quicker. Like I'll have days where I'm like down, but I never really get into the depths of it anymore. And so I kind of believe like there is like, I don't know if cure is like the right word, but like
a way to like,
I think there's a way to like just not really experience depression.
Right, yeah.
Like you'll have like low days. We're humans. We experience a range of feelings and emotions, and like sometimes we're going to be sad, but we're not going to be like, I hate my life, I hate living sad. Like I don't go there anymore. Like I don't cross that threshold. And so I just like, and I was so deeply depressed for like most of my life. And so when I say like, if I can do it, you can do it, like I wholeheartedly believe that, because I did not ever once think that this would be possible for me.
Yeah. I will say that I like to joke and be like, I hate it here. Because I do sometimes feel like, why the hell did I decide to incarnate on Earth? That's a whole other topic. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I just want things to play out. And when I say this out loud, I realize that's not really what I want. But I'm like, I just wanted to come here and like work a fun job and then like meet the love of my life and but that it's not been that way. It's been like all these zigzags and turns, and it's really learning to find gratitude in the moment, which is really hard for somebody who wants to be like, fuck everything sometimes. Yeah. So it's like, I have to be like, no, look at where you're at. Like, it's not, I've always been like, the next thing is going to make me happy my entire life. And this is the year where I'm like, you're not going to do that anymore. This next thing is not what's going to make you happy. You're going to live in the moment, like get outside, do something. Cause like, I'm like, I need it. Like when I find a partner, I'll be happy. When I get this, whatever, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
No, like, it's truly just learning to be happy in the moment, because that's when the universe rewards you the most, is when you learn to find gratitude in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, honestly, like, being present and, like, finding gratitude, even if it's, I mean, like, being grateful for, like, waking up, like, is not usually a thing when you're, like, super depressed. But, like, grateful that, like, your coffee's super yummy, or grateful, like, that you have a job, even if it sucks, because there's a lot of people who can't get a job, and, like, that sucks. Or be grateful that you have certain people in your life, or that you have, like, a favorite t-shirt, or you have time to read a book, or you have, you know, there's ways to find, like, you can find ways to find gratitude. And honestly, too, sometimes you just have to gaslight yourself. Yeah. And, like, I know it sounds bad, And we are anti-gaslighting, but I am pro-gaslighting yourself because eventually it works. And I'm not sure if I like the phrase fake it till you make it, but at least if you keep telling yourself, like, even just pick one small, tiny thing in your life that you like. And don't sit there and be like, there's nothing I can find. You will be able to find something. I really believe that. And like, if you just focus on being grateful for that one thing, like every day, just tell yourself, like, I'm so grateful I have a cute phone case. Like, it becomes easier and easier and easier to find gratitude for more things. And then the more gratitude that you can find, the happier, like, the more like you want to live life.
Yeah.
And to go from like not wanting to live to like being excited to be alive is so, it's just amazing. And I want everybody who's depressed to get there and to experience that.
And to know that the life of your dreams is possible. It's not.
It is.
And it's okay if you think that sounds crazy. Like, the crazier the better, because it's possible. It's coming from, what did I say last time? Because they always say, like, what you desire it already exists in another timeline. And so it's true. So find what that is and get after it and know that life is worth living. And we all chose to come here.
It's Earth School.
It's Earth School.
I was overdue.
Our soul wanted to learn something. So find what your soul wanted to learn and learn that shit so you can live your best life.
Yeah. And like you really can do it.
Yeah. Well, all right. That's it for this episode. We'll be back next week with a little bit more of a lighter topic on filling the void. It just sounds weird. We'll elaborate on that.
Yeah. We'll leave you with that for now. And then again, if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, help is available. Call or text 988 anytime in the US or Canada. And yeah, just if you need help, get it.
Yes.
So
all right. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.